Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think they could make a monster move in the next 3 months, like huge.
If you're watching this, know that this is the calm before the storm. I've been in crypto for almost a decade now. I've seen it play out like this time and time again. 87% of the population has no idea that rate cuts happen tomorrow. Your parents don't know this. Your friends don't know this. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Cardano, and many other quality altcoins will explode when this happens. Prepare for the best Q4 that crypto has ever seen. Better than 2021. Better than 2017. Smash the like button. Subscribe to Altcoin Daily for daily crypto videos just like this. Wall Street expert Tom Lee just revealed his updated Q4 crypto outlook. Listen to this and tell me if you agree.
Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think they could make a monster move in the next 3 months, like huge.
If we were to say Ethereum, Bitcoin, we try to bucket them into risk-averse assets or risk-on type assets.
Yeah.
Is it fair to look at them that way? We used to compare them correlation-wise to the NASDAQ 100. Is that the fair assessment for how these things trade in the coming months?
Yes. Bitcoin is particularly monetary policy liquidity sensitive. Ethereum has elements of being sensitive to liquidity, but it's also part of this AI moving onto the blockchain and Wall Street moving onto the blockchain and that whole stablecoin ChatGPT moment for crypto. So Ethereum, I think, trades almost like 1971 Wall Street, which was the dollar went off the gold standard, a lot of innovation. Ethereum essentially is a growth protocol, and that's why Bitmine is so aggressively acquiring Ethereum.
By the way, let's just take a moment to appreciate Tom Lee, who is truly perfecting his Ethereum pitch. You can agree with this pitch, how it's framed. You cannot agree with it. The point is, he's selling an idea right now, helping people understand the significance, because I remember how they used to talk about Ethereum on TV. So I like this pitch.
Ethereum has elements of being sensitive to liquidity, but it's also part of this AI moving onto the blockchain and Wall Street moving onto the blockchain and that whole stablecoin ChatGPT moment for crypto. So Ethereum, I think, trades almost like 1971 Wall Street, which was the dollar went off the gold standard, a lot of innovation. Ethereum essentially is a growth protocol, and that's why Bitmine is so aggressively acquiring Ethereum.
Yes, there will be volatility on the news, of course, but any major dip is a buying opportunity, in my opinion, because so much is going on in crypto nowadays. Polkadot making major moves as the DOT community officially votes to lock the DOT supply, creating a 2.1 billion hard cap. Interesting. Is Polkadot really a contender anymore in crypto? Tell me in the comments what you think about this. Solana news, Solana stablecoin inflows are exploding. Solana is looking bullish, guys. I like Ethereum, but don't get it twisted. Both Ethereum and Solana will grow in this crypto boom. Clean Core, Dogecoin treasury company, acquires an additional 100 million Dogecoin, and its treasury now tops 600 million Doge. Interesting. I wonder if Elon Musk will get more involved in Dogecoin now. Bank of America seems like they're going all in on stablecoins now. All financial companies are. This is a direct result of the stablecoin bill being passed. They're adopting stablecoins now. And just think about what happens when the market clarity bill passes in a couple months. They will adopt Bitcoin and Ethereum like they're adopting stablecoins, fully tokenizing. And Bitwise is trying to front run the incoming wave, just like we're seeing so many more people doing things like this, filing for stablecoin and tokenization ETFs. Bitwise sees the future of this space in many ways because they have direct conversations with the powerful elite and insiders, like this clip here, where the CIO Matt Hogan reveals that sovereign wealth is front-running the US buying more Bitcoin. Most people today don't realize that things like this are happening behind the scenes.
I had a conversation with a sovereign that was interested in the ETF because they wanted to get ahead of the US buying it. And it was just a faster, easier button. I do think they'll end up buying both. If you look at the gold market, for instance, that's what you see. People own gold ETFs and they own gold bars. The same thing is going to be true here in crypto. So I think it's probably more likely that more sovereigns are going direct, but you'll definitely see more than one take the ETP route. It's just incredibly convenient, incredibly low cost, and allows you to execute very quickly without having to set up the custody side of the business.
The takeaway is this: Bitcoin reaching $1 million someday is not BS. This is the reality. This is becoming more and more clear every day. When you understand the supply and demand numbers, all of this becomes crystal clear.
My favorite view of the value of Bitcoin on a long-term basis is to look at the size of the market it's going after. I think Bitcoin is well on its way to disrupting gold. That's a $20 trillion market. I think it's going to be used for international transaction and cross-border transactions. That's another many trillion-dollar market. And then you can divide that by the number of Bitcoin and you end up with a target amount. At Bitwise, we think it's going to cross $1 million by 2029. I think from a shorter term perspective, you can just look at supply and demand in the market, right? The big criticism of Bitcoin is the price is set by supply and demand. But that's also a real benefit when you're in a market like today, where again, we're producing 160,000 Bitcoin a year and ETFs are buying 500,000, right? Something has to give. And I think what gives is price resistance, and ultimately it goes higher.
I think every pension fund should be allocated to Bitcoin. When I was a reporter, I covered just how so many of these pension funds are essentially underwater. It's so sad. But I heard actually, and I'm curious if you could tell me if this is true, that let's say there's a pension fund interested in allocating to Bitcoin. They actually have to go out and meet with a consultant for the consultant to do due diligence on Bitcoin. And that could take months and months. And if the consultant says, no, you shouldn't invest in it, then they just pass on it. Is that true? Are there gatekeepers?
It's mostly true. Yeah. So, I mean, the deep institutional investor market is a market with tier after tier after tier, because those people want their jobs. And if it goes wrong, they want someone to point at and say it was their fault. That said, we've been working with a number of consultants for a significant number of years, and many of them are already allocating. That's why you're starting to see this bubble up through the end. I'll add one more thought from an institutional perspective, because I think people overlook it. Crypto's a $3 trillion market right now. If you have a 0% allocation to crypto, you're effectively short.
Yeah.
Right. When we talk about people allocating 1 or 2% to Bitcoin, that's just to get to neutral. And I think institutions are starting to recognize that. Once you accept it as part of this pie, you need to have at least a little bit, or you're making an active bet against it. And they're not comfortable doing that either. So I think you're going to see this 1-2% thing really take off at the institutional level over the next few years.
You can make even more money trading crypto. This is an exchange I like. This is the best deal I've ever seen by any exchange. $100,000 in trading bonuses. Anybody can take advantage of this, but you must act quickly. This deal won't be around forever. $100K extra in trading bonuses. No KYC. Make sure you use our BitUnex exchange link below. Make sure you follow Altcoin Daily on Twitter. We're so close to hitting 2 million X now followers. We're very close to this. This will happen in September or October. I'm going to leave a link to our Twitter below so you can get news the second it happens. My name is Aaron at Altcoin Daily. See you tomorrow, my friends.